Hi, everyone. So here we are. Probably some of the hardest stuff that you're going to do this year is significant figures. Especially if you're a junior, you're going to want to really learn these and like memorize them and tattoo them to your forehead. Don't really do that. I always say that, but I'm worried that some student will do that someday and then the parents will kill me. But anyways, significant figures, if you don't remember, when we went through the POGIL or this assignment right here, where we talked about what a good measurement is. So, we talked about that, this right here is kind of an okay ruler, and this is a really good ruler. And so we need to know how many significant figures are, which means and tells the reader how accurate the tool is that you're using to measure. So this ruler is okay, so it only has 2 significant figures. And this ruler is better, much more accurate ruler. So it's going to have a total of, and I don't know if you can see this, but I'll draw on here. It's going to have a total of 3 significant figures. So what the goal here for this video is to teach you significant figures and how you determine a number is significant or not, okay? So there are about, 5 rules? 5 rules that talks about significant figures. 5 rules, and they're all right here on this page 25. I don't know if you want to star this movie or download it or save it or do something, but you're definitely going to want to know this video, okay? It's really important. So we're going to get started. Here we go. It says all non-zero numbers, so any number that has a 1, a 2, a 3, etc., that digit is significant. So if I were to give you a number like 747, there's no zeros in here, right? And the zeros are the weird ones. The zeros are the ones that you have to worry about with significant figures. The zeros are the hard part. So this one would have 1, 2, 3, 3 significant digits. That means that you used a ruler and were able to measure exactly 747, I don't know, kilometers. Okay, it's pretty specific, pretty precise. Versus if you have a ruler that was only 700, that's not as precise. So let's look at it, the next rule. So this first rule, just non-zero, pretty easy. Okay, look at the next one. Rulers that are between, here's the keyword, between non-zero digits are significant. I call this the sandwich rule. Okay, so I could write any number, 1 through 10. Let's just say 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. Because these guys are sandwiched in between, they are significant. I could also go like this, 3, 0, 3, 0, 3, 0, 3, 0. Okay? Because each one of these zeros are sandwiched between, not that last one, are sandwiched between a number that's not a zero, it's significant. So let's take a look here. I could go 4, 0, 1. The 4 is significant because of our first rule. The 1 is significant because of our first rule. And now this guy is significant because of this rule. It's sandwiched between the two. There's significant figures on either side. You will never, I repeat, never have like a gap. You won't go like 4, 0, 7, 0, 0, 2, 1.20. You will never have like a 4, a 7, a 1, and a 2. See how there's like gaps in between that number? Like this would be a gap and this would be a gap. You won't have gaps in significant figures. It's like either from the start all the way to the end, or starting in the middle to the end, or starting from like the middle to the front. You never have like a gap in a significant digit. Okay, so that's rule 2. Let's talk about rule 3. It says, rule 3, zeros to the right of a decimal point that are the ending number are significant. Okay, so let's talk about this. Zeros to the right of a decimal. So if I have 0, 7. Well, kids, those zeros are to the right of the decimal. So are they significant? And the answer is no. because they have to be the ending numbers. So watch. If I have 0.0070, because I have this decimal, and because the last digit is a 0, that makes that 0 significant. And then we know the 7 significance. So this number has 2 significant figures. How many does this one have above? Just 1. Okay, I'll say that again. Has to have a decimal, has to have a decimal, and has to be the last 0. If you can't answer yes for both of those, does it have a decimal? Is the last digit a 0, meaning reading to the right, is the last digit a 0? Have to answer yes to both of those, and if you can answer yes to both of those, then it's significant. Let's try another one. Let's try 700. 700.0. Okay, so straightforward. You know the 700, right? Good. Now, let's talk about this rule. Is there a decimal? First question. Yes, there's a decimal. There is a decimal right here. Is the last digit a 0? And if you answered yes to both of those, that makes this last 0 significant. Now, what about those other 2 zeros? These guys right here in the middle, are those significant? And the answer, you should have said yes, because those now are sandwiched. Okay? All right, now we've done 4 of the 5 rules. Rule 5 says when a number ends in a 0, that is not to the right of a decimal place. The zeros are not significant. Okay, so we talked about that. Let's try this. We have 700. Remember our questions. Is there a decimal? And the answer for this one is no. So I know it's just the 7. Okay, let's try this one. 700 point. Is there a decimal? Yes. I feel like I'm on a TikTok video, you know, like, no. Is there a decimal? No. Is the last digit, you know, like the TikToks, anyways, whatever. So there's a decimal, yes. Is the last digit a 0? And the answer is yes. You know the 7's significant. Now what about this other 0? And the answer should be yes, it's significant because it's sandwiched. So this guy has 3 and this guy has 1. And you're going to say, well, Ms. Sundberg, it's 700. It's the same number. Correct, it's the same number, but one is communicating using a not so good ruler, and the other one is communicating using a better ruler. And significant figures do just that. They tell us how accurate our measurement is. And if you can keep that in mind when you're doing significant figures, it will help you kind of understand this, because I told you in class, and those of you that weren't in class, Ms. Sundberg lives 8 miles from Eastview. Okay, that's what Google says. Okay, now if I want to look at like maybe like walking home and like measuring like with a laser as I walk, you know, you can measure, or I can track my steps and then convert steps to miles or whatever. If I want to do that, maybe I would end up with Ms. Sundberg lives 8.1 miles. And one of them I used a bad measurement tool. The other one I used a pretty good measurement tool. And how do I know that? Well, this one has how many sig figs? 1. And this one has how many sig figs? 3. Okay, so hopefully you have an understanding more of why we use significant figures. It kind of communicates how good you measured and how to determine significant figures. Now, what you're going to need to do is complete this page right here and tell me how many significant figures there are. Let me do a couple of problems for you to share how this looks, okay? So you know what to write down. So on page 26, it says, state the number of significant digits in each measurement and underline the numbers that are significant. So here we go. Easy. We know that the 2 and the 8 are significant, and we also know that the 4 is significant. Okay, straightforward. Now, what do we know about that 0 right there? And if you're screaming at the screen right now saying sandwich, good job. That is sandwiched. Okay, now, what about these guys? Again, our question is there a decimal place in the number? And if the answer is no, those aren't significant. Okay, so I would underline the significant digits, and then I would say that there is 1, 2, 3, 4 significant digits. That's how your work should look. Let's try another one. Straightforward, you know that the 3 is significant, the 6 is significant, and the 8. Those are the easy ones. It's the zeros that are tricky. Okay, here we go. Is there a decimal? That's your next question. The answer is yes, so that's good. So we answered that question. Then we go, is the last digit a 0? So we go to the end of the number, is the last digit a 0? And the answer is no. That means these zeros don't count because you answered no to that second question, okay? Now, what about this 0 right here? Does that 0 count? And I hope you say yes because it's sandwiched. So I got 4, okay? All right, so that's how you do this top section. So make sure you finish that. I will be grading that for correctness. I will look at everybody's answers and make sure they're correct. Now down here, you're actually rounding. So here's what this looks like. And here's how I do this. In column A, everything in column A. See column A here, it's flashing. Column A, you need to round so there's only one significant figure. Column B, you're gonna round so there's 2 significant figures. Column 3 or C, you will round to 3 significant figures. And column 4, you'll round to 4. Some of them will be the same, okay? Some of them you'll just have to add extra zeros. Let's see how this works. Here we go. Here's what I do. Column A, I need 1 significant figure. So I'm gonna highlight that first significant figure. I look at the number behind it, which is a 2. What does the 2 do to the 1? Nothing. Doesn't kick it up to a 3, doesn't do anything. So now because it doesn't affect it, it becomes a 0. And now I write that my answer is 20. Okay? Now, next. Column B wants to have 2 significant figures. Okay, so I'm going to look at this number, highlight the first 2. Then I look at the number behind the first 2, 8. What does the 8 do to the number in front of it? And if you say it rounds it up, you are correct. So this now becomes a 2 and the rest of it disappears. So now this is going to have the answer of 22. Okay. C, column C, you need to have 3 significant figures. Okay, so now I'm going to look here. I'm going to highlight my first 3 or underline my first 3. 1, 2, 3. What does the 6 do to the 8? And if you say yes, because it's 5 or higher, it's going to increase that 8 to a 9. Okay, so now this is now going to turn into 21.9. Good. Okay. All right, now the last column. If you said we need 4 sig figs, you're right. So I'm going to do 4 sig figs. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I look at that 0 behind the 6 after the first 4 significant figures. What does that 0 do to the 6? And the answer is nothing. And since it's not a 5 or higher, it doesn't round it up. So my answer now will be 21.86. Okay, so finish the rest of these and write down rounding, and then make sure you're only turning in these few pages on your PDF. If you don't know how to do just a certain amount of pages, I would suggest in Schoology, I'm going to pull up Schoology here, I would suggest you take a look at this, and I'll pull it up and read it. So I'm in chemistry, I'm in the general resources thing, and then I'm going to go to this Notability turning in homework page and check this out. It actually tells you exactly how to do it right here. How to turn in homework. It tells you exactly what to pick. You want a PDF. You want to choose the page ranges. You don't want to turn in every single page. Share a note, copy, etc. Okay. So hopefully this helps you understand significant figures, and I'll look forward to seeing your assignment soon. Okay. Thank you guys. Take care. Always email me if there's questions. Bye-bye.